Hey guys, Archie Luxury, 4:11 a.m. A little bit jet lag, just woke up, couldn't sleep, decided to shoot a vid. Guys, this Will Smith thing. Will Smith is the actor who punched the comedian at the Emmys, Grammys, whatever it was, the Oscars, whatever. Anyhow, what do I think? I gotta be honest with you. I think it's pretty poor form to tell jokes or mention the wife of a man. And, I'm in this fame business myself and celebrity business. And I got to be totally quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing the Sky Dweller. I got to tell you, in all my little squabbles I've had with people, I've never criticized another man's wife. And the reason is because people get really touchy on this. And it's just poor form. I gotta be honest with you. The Will Smith thing, I support you, Will Smith. I understand your anger. That guy is a real jerk. And I didn't understand this. We're in this woke society. But then you have this extreme Y-gen millennial type person who has really vicious, nasty jokes. I don't blame Will Smith for smacking the shit out of this asshole. And what's his name? Chris Rock. I never heard of this Chris Rock dude. And I gotta be honest with you, I think it's pretty shitty. It's one thing for celebrities to be fair game. Yeah, they chose to be in this business. But their wife, you should really just leave their wife alone. And, in all my battles with TGV, with all these, I've never criticized wives because they do not deserve to be brought into this. And this is the whole thing. I got to be honest with you. Will Smith, I understand. That Chris Rock dude is a jerk. He's an absolute jerk. And I completely understand how you lose your temper. And I got to tell you something. It's pretty crappy. I'm not a violent guy. I'm not violent. But I gotta tell you, I don't like people who are disrespectful to other people's wives, That's just not a cool thing. It's not cool. It never was cool. And it sucks. My dad's not a violent guy. I know my dad is least he's the least violent person I ever met in my life. And I remember he told me a story. He used to work in the Commonwealth Bank. And he had this guy he used to work with, John Adams. And John Adams was a real antagonist. He used to say things. My dad told me the story. I was shocked. He used to say things to my dad about my mom and say, "Oh, you had good sex, you had good this, d." And my dad one day, he grabbed him by the neck and said, "If you say anything like this again, I'll fucking kill you." And Adams himself so Adams was a little bit senior to my dad. And then my dad's boss, Eric Fisher. Adams went to Fisher and said, "Hey, Michael's grabbed me and done this." And Fisher said to him, "Well, what did you do to Mike?" And then Fisher came and saw Mike. And Adams wanted Mike written up as a complaint, and Fisher said, "Well, we can do that, but we can also put a complaint for you." So they had a truce. And funnily enough, they actually became semi-friends. And the interesting thing with the Adams guy, he was a real weird dude. And I found out later his father was actually the principal, I think, at Ipswich Grammar. It was a grammar school, which was a posh school. And his father had committed suicide. So John actually lived with his mum. And it's a bit of it's that was right. And then interesting story about John Adams. He was actually dating. By the way, this story here I'm telling, my dad worked in the Commonwealth Bank, early 80s. Okay, this is 40 years ago. And I would have been about 10 years old. But I remember idle gossip and shit like that. It's like, I remember that stuff. And the funny story is with Adams, he was dating an Asian lady, and his mum actually looked quite very good for her age. She used to like to pass off that she was 20 years younger. She was I remember the other story was that she was in a hospital one stage having some operation or something. And the lady next to her said, "Oh, I'm really old, I'm 60." And she was actually, Adam's lady the mum was 70. So, yeah, I remember that story. And then what happened was my dad and Adams became reasonable friends. But Adams was going to marry this, I think she was Chinese, probably Hong Kong Chinese, but she was Asian. I think she was Chinese. And Adams's mum said, because Adams and his mum had a lot of properties. They had about 5 houses. they weren't super rich, but they were very comfortable. And what happened was, John pulled out from marrying the Chinese lady because John's mum thought the Chinese lady would be a money grabber, money hungry, because the Adams had a bit of money. And what happened was, Adams, a couple years later, was invited to the wedding of this lady. And she married another Skippy. And as a present at the wedding, I think the father gave them a brand new Mercedes-Benz and some property. Adams was shitty for weeks. And another story about Adams I remember is Adams only had one pair of shoes. He had a good pair of shoes, and he took them in to get resold. And the only other shoes he had were red slippers. And then what happened was, well, he looked like a complete fikewit, red slippers with a suit, because he was waiting for his shoes to come back from the what's it called? The bootery. What's that called? What's the guy who does the shoes? Fuck, what is that? I can remember idle gossip. What is that? What's the guy who does shoe repairs? What's that called? Okay, bit of Alzheimer's there. So that's the story there. So the moral of the story is you shouldn't really say things about someone else's wife. That's really off guard. It's just not cool. It's never been cool. And I got to tell you, I think love itself isn't just the physical. You're with a woman for a long time. And I know with my wife, I remember she had Bell palsy. And she was concerned that I found her less attractive. And I remember she actually, we were having intimacy. And I said to her, it doesn't really matter to me whether you have Bell palsy or you lost your hair or something like that. I'd still love you the same. And I think that's the big thing. Once you've lived with someone for a number of years, or if you've had children and you're beyond the superficiality of life. So I got to tell you, in Will Smith's case, look, he probably shouldn't have whacked the guy because he's lost the argument. That's the problem. You lose the argument when you do that. But I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. I really don't blame him. I mean, I think Will Smith should have said nothing and just organized it after the awards. I mean, Will Smith would know powerful people, kind of collected people. And I think that's what Will should have done, is got it fixed up off stage. That's what Will should have done. I think punching him there, he's then he's got himself into trouble. So I think Will should have handled it a bit different. But I don't blame him. I understand where Will's coming from. I completely get it. And I just want to say, Will, if you were watching, I love you, Will. Man, that guy is a jerk. He's a fucking jerk. Love your wife. You're a good man. I love you. And stay watching Archie Luxury Channel. See you. What's now? Time now is now 4:23. There we go. And yeah, that's my John Adams story. Okay, guys. See ya later.